Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 80 of the Empowering Industry Podcast. It's coming out on November 8th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Bethany Womack, and I'm joined today by one of our favorite people, Becca Calkins, who's filling in for Charli while she's traveling this week.
Thanks, Bethany. Super excited to be here again. It's been a little while, but I'm very excited to be here with you, Bethany, and also you, the listener. So thank you for choosing us, and please do us a favor and leave us a rating or review. That really helps us show up in the podcast platforms and helps more listeners like yourself find the show.
And leave us a comment on YouTube and tell Becca that you're glad that she's back. Let her know on YouTube, on our LinkedIn posts, our social media posts. That is always really exciting to hear what everyone thinks about the show. If you're new here, what we're going to do today is we're going to cover something you need to know for social media, preview the news from Empowering Pumps and Equipment, and then connect you with an awesome industry influencer.
And I also want to let you know that on November 22nd, that is going to be our 100th episode. So we are so excited to be bringing in 100 episodes of the Empowering Industry Podcast.
That happened very quickly. If you're looking at the math and you're like, that doesn't add up, you just said it's episode 80. Well, we added in all of the bonus episodes that we released in the past year and a half, and we total it up, and that episode is going to be our 100th episode. And that's something worth celebrating. So we're excited to be doing that and sharing that with you. We have a lot of fun stuff planned for that episode. And we do still have a couple of sponsor spots available for that. Call Vince. He'd love to talk to you about signing up to be a sponsor, get a mention on that podcast. It's going to be really big that we are going to be sharing with all of our audience. And we know that people are going to be hopefully excited to party with us, right? For our 100th episode.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we've got a big podcast plan. So we're going to go ahead and skip into Let's Get Social. This is where we're going to tell you some trend or something you need to know that's happening in social media and digital media. This week is going to be our focus, but something that you need to know this week as you head into planning your week.
And we also want to invite you to our virtual meetups for November. So this week is going to be Empowering Women, which is going to be Wednesday, November 10th, which is every second Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. Central Time. And then next week will be our Empowering Brands Meetup. So on November 16th, every third Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Time.
Yep. You do need to pre-register for those events. The link is in the show notes, as well as you can get the invite in your email. But when you register for it, you're emailed the Zoom link so that you're ready to go. You click on those links when it's time to go, turn your camera on, say hi to everybody. And it's just a really nice way, I think, to reconnect with everyone in the industry this once a month.
Absolutely. And on that note, you can get a shout out on the show by staying connected by following at Empowering Pumps or using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. And I have a shout out that I would like to give. If you listen to last week's episode with Andy Martin, he, had such wonderful things to say about our empowering team and had mentioned about, one TPS with me helping him with his pocket square. And it made me feel so good that one, he remembered that I did that. But just that, those kind little things that each of us on the team had all done something different. And it gives you the warm and fuzzies and just makes you feel good. And he's such an awesome human being. And so it was a really good moment. So thanks for the shout out, Andy.
I loved hearing him talk about that because I could see it in my head. Because those of you who haven't been around Andy in person, he's tall. I don't know, 7 feet tall, but not really, but like definitely 6'5" or something. I don't know. He's huge. And so I can imagine him like bending really far down for our tiny little Becca to fix his pocket square for him. But he was a wonderful interview. I definitely recommend if you're in marketing to go back and listen to his interviews. He has tons of good tips and tricks and everything you need to know for marketing in this industry. Now we're going to go into our main topic of discussion for the week. And Becca wrote a blog for us, which is another reason why I'm very excited to have Becca here with us doing the podcast. And it's titled Top 4 Trends for You It's titled Top 4 Trends for Your 2022 Marketing Plan. I'm really glad that she wrote this. She wrote a great one for us last year as we were heading into 2021 and people were planning out their marketing budgets. And so she's back at it again with what you need to plan for 2022. And in general, we know that it's, an ever-changing environment. We have COVID, there's supply chain crisis. It's really hard to know where to spend your money and where to plan for your money for marketing in 2022. But that's what we do best here at Empowering Brands, Empowering Pumps. We're a digital media marketing company. And Becca has pinpointed top 4 trends you really need to look at when you're thinking about how to spend your budget.
Thank you, Bethany. And yes, I mean, it is important. We're all in that time now where we're thinking about next year and what we want to do. So this is a great time to really kind of learn these tips, but then also be finalizing those plans. So tip number 1 or trend number 1 is, short form video. We all should know by now how important video is for digital marketing. Short form video, it has become more and more popular. Really, I think because our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter,
Yes.
but we really like more short, digestible content. And it's not just us; everybody is enjoying that better. So the length of these short form videos does differ from social platform to social platform. For example, Twitter is 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and Instagram Reels are 30 seconds or less. Our suggestion is 1 to 2 minutes will be, the best kind of time frame to stay in for most platforms. That being said, there is an exception for YouTube, which they say the ideal length for a YouTube video is 10 minutes.
Yeah. And if you're interested in like YouTube videos specifically, we did a series a couple months back now. I don't know what time is, but we talked all about YouTube videos and how to make them good for your audience. But all really great tips. And in addition to short form video, there's also audio content is the trend that we want to talk to you. And this is very meta. We're talking to you on a podcast about audio content and how it's great for your consumers. But it's even more than podcasts. There's also Clubhouse that did it come out this year? I know it got popular in 2021. There's Twitter Spaces, which is like a voice chat function that they've added to Twitter. But why it's good is that adding on to that, people have short attention spans. We also multitask all the time. I found myself doing that even more being at home for longer periods of time like we have been during COVID. But you're doing the dishes, you listen to a podcast. You're cleaning your house, you listen to somebody on Clubhouse have a conversation. But it's having the ability to listen to something that's valuable content is really good for a lot of your consumers. And as an added bonus, you don't have to get camera ready. You can just record something, get on a podcast. You don't have to do a PowerPoint to go with it. But having that as added content is a really good benefit to your target market.
Yes. And, trend 3 is influencer and advocate marketing. Empowering pumps and equipment, that's really our bread and butter, is influencer marketing. And, really this is where, people trust other people. So being able to have, different brands or other people that are advocating for your brand, your product, that makes a difference. And it's not just for our personal purchases, it's also for business to business marketing. People trust other people. And so it's important to be working with other companies, whether it's, different media outlets, whether it's your people that buy your products and are big fans and they use their platform to tell other people about your brand. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but the moral of the story is that, it's very important to have cheerleaders for your brand that aren't actually associated with your brand. I also wrote an article on empowering brands about the power of advocate marketing last year, so you can read more about that if this entices your fancy.
Yeah, and it's really one of my favorite trends that we ever talk about in marketing because it's nice to remember that even in B2B sales, it's still about the people. People still buy from people, and those personal connections that you build will never go to waste wherever you are in this industry. So I could listen to Becca talk about advocate marketing all day. Definitely read that blog. I highly recommend it. And the last trend that she talks about in this latest blog that she wrote is about inbound marketing strategies. So inbound marketing is having a plan to bring potential customers to you rather than having to do cold calls or sending your salespeople out to go find the customers. We need content. We love content marketing here, and we need to put things out that will help bring potential customers in. It's that web that we weave that's going to trap them and make them like us, like our product, to be on our website longer, be on our YouTube longer. But it's all about giving people things that can help them fill a pain point that isn't necessarily selling them, but information, how-to articles, white papers, all of the things that we just talked about, short form video, audio, those kind of things. That's the content we need out there that's going to make people realize that you're a thought leader in the industry and that you're a trusted source that they can go to for information. And then when they need to buy something, they're like, hey, I trust Becca's company. I'm going to go buy from Becca's company.
I mean, in a perfect world, yes, that's exactly how it works. So, in conclusion, in this digital world that we all live in, we have to stay relevant when it comes to marketing our business. We have to market to the newer generations moving into those buyer positions. Consumers are going to continue to consume, so we have to have the skills to meet them where they are and give them the knowledge, the resources, and the products that they're looking for.
Which I'm going to just break in and do a shout out real quick to Ari Copeland. Hearing you say that you need to market to new generations that are moving into buyer positions made me think of him, because he just posted something to his LinkedIn of him in his water bear costume for Halloween. And he's doing some kind of TikTok competition to give away a mentorship to some young person in the industry. So shout out to him for marketing to newer generations. He's doing an awesome job doing that and helping people in the industry learn more. And then back to our topic that we were talking about for social media, we are a digital services company. In addition to having this large pump audience that we share news with and we connect all these people in the industry, we're really good at helping you meet your digital marketing needs. So if you need help at all, if you say, those things sounded great, doing a podcast and doing short form video, but I need help, we would love to help you. Reach out to Becca, reach out to Charli, anybody on our team, and we can talk to you more about all the things that we can do here for you. Okay, now we're going to move into the news for today. This is where we're going to preview the news that you will see in the Empowering Pumps and Equipment newsletter coming to your inbox twice a week this week. And we start with the person of the week. Go for it, Becca.
And our industry person of the week is Regina Higgins. Regina is the regional sales manager for the water utility, Eastern U.S. and Canada division at Grundfos. Regina is also the Empowering Women 2021 Saleswoman of the Year.
I was so happy seeing her win that award at Empowering Women a couple weeks back now. I say you can always pick out a salesperson, usually, because they're just so excited and making Becca drop everything. They're so excited, but they just got this aura about them that draws people to them. And she was so excited to win that award, and we were so excited to be there to watch her win that award. It's so well deserved, and I'm excited. I need to stop saying that. I'm losing its impact because I keep saying I'm so excited, but I am happy to share her profile with you this week for our industry person of the week. Some advice that she had for people in the industry was that you need to have a thirst for learning. It's a dynamic industry where you will never going to know it all, and you'll never get bored, and that you need to start each day with a growth mindset. And that's a really good reminder, especially for me going into this new year, as we're kind of planning out our new year. And if I can be as happy as Regina is on a daily basis, that is living the dream. So I will take her advice and head into the new year with a growth mindset.
Absolutely. And definitely check out her feature on our site and also nominate someone that you know that you think deserves a little spotlight on them.
That's awesome. Okay. So the first story that we're going to share today comes to us from Sulzer and is titled Managing Water Pumping Systems in the Most Challenging Construction Projects. Really great article, and it's going to tie into who we have for our industry interview today. But this article talks all about constructing tunnels and how it's one of the most challenging parts of infrastructure, but how it's important to maximize the performance and reliability of supporting systems, such as dewatering pumping systems. When you have tunnels, it can improve transportation links, reducing freight costs, making road transportation more cost effective. And then globally, it can also help reduce CO2 emissions by reducing journey times and opening up new railway corridors, which offer a more sustainable solution compared to air freight for everything. So the article is really in depth, and it covers all the different aspects you need to think about when you're constructing a tunnel or deciding whether to add that into your infrastructure project. But it covers water management, construction methods, tunnel design, pump selection, efficiency, and then getting support from experts that you might need on the project, like Sulzer. It's a really great article, and I highly recommend checking it out.
Awesome. And yes, so my article I am featuring in the news is from Industrial Flow Solutions. This article is about announcing their deal to acquire Clearwater Controls to grow their IoT solutions for wastewater network management and to increase demand for industry-leading DRAGger Plus. So with this agreement, Clearwater Controls, they are based in Glasgow, Scotland, and they are known worldwide for their DRAGger line of intelligent deragging control systems. So this company is able to bring lots of IoT experience to the industrial sector, and really, being able to incorporate their pump station controllers across the brands at Industrial Flow Solutions is really going to be, a game changer in the industry. Of course, for them as a business, but just in general. And, these complementary products and technology are going to create a lot of value for customers seeking to reduce startup time, to strengthen the reliability, and provide real-time cloud-based data. So to learn more about the benefits of this merger, read it in the news.
Thanks, Becca. And now we're going to move into our industry interview. Charli always goes and finds us thought leaders in the industry that you need to hear something about today. And I am happy to introduce our interview today with our second Becca on the episode, Becca Calkins. She's the Director of Finance at NGWA and has over a decade of accounting and finance experience. She's a self-proclaimed numbers nerd, and in her interview, she describes learning Excel as a hobby. So any of you number nerds out there that love Excel, you're definitely going to love hearing her talk about that. But she has a really outgoing personality, which is not what we typically think about when we think about CPAs. And I really loved hearing her explain how, as an accountant and as a finance person, she's really found her purpose in this industry, like many of us have, and learning the importance of water and groundwater. And she's also going to tell us about their event they have coming up. Becca, do you want to tell us about Groundwater Week?
Yes. So National Groundwater Week is happening on December 14th through the 16th in Nashville, Tennessee. Groundwater Week is basically the event where, thousands of professionals from all sectors of the groundwater industry come together to discover solutions to current and future challenges. There are links and more information for everything you need to know to register in the show notes.
And I did check out their website. If you're listening to this live when it comes out on November 8th, you still have time to pre-register, but I just think you have this week. So after this week, you'd have to register on site. So definitely go ahead and get that registration in so you don't have to worry about it while you're there. And I really hope that you all enjoy this interview as much as I did listening to it. And without further delay, here's your interview.
Hey, Becca, welcome to the Empowering Industry podcast. I have been so excited and just ready to talk to you since they connected us. I think it's been a couple months since I knew we were going to do this recording. And so I've stalked you a little bit. It happens. But I like to start with asking you, what's your story, what you do from your perspective?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, Charli, for having me. I love the episodes that you and Bethany do together. I think it's so great. So my background, well, first of all, I'm Becca Calkins, and I am the VP of Finance at the National Groundwater Association. So we exist to help our members, and our members range anywhere from contractors who are drilling wells to pump manufacturers and installers to the salespeople who are involved. We also have a large number of scientists and engineer members, so hydrogeologists, anyone who's involved with groundwater and drilling wells in the groundwater industry can be a member of NGWA. So I'm the VP of Finance there. So it's interesting because when I was getting ready for the podcast, I felt a little bit like I'm not really part of the industry. I totally am, but I'm such a behind the scenes piece as an accountant. I'm a CPA, I'm a numbers nerd, a self-proclaimed Excel expert. There's always people who know more, but man, I nerd out on that stuff. Watched YouTube videos, the whole deal on Excel. So it's a fun hobby. But yeah, so that's who I am and how I got involved at NGWA and got the job. As you know, a lot of times it's connections. So I had a connection. The current CEO is Terry Morse, and I worked with him at another organization before. We weren't directly working together, but he had reached out when the former CFO was retiring. And I went in to interview. I believe that my second child was 4 days old when I walked in for the interview.
Wow.
I wasn't looking or anything. It was one of those things where when he reached out, I said, it might be a good fit for me. And after the interview, the thing that really hooked me was I came from the association world to an association world. So the thing I love about the association world is a lot of people who are actually competitors who work together to make the industry better overall. And I love the premise behind it altogether. But what got me on groundwater specifically was I, like probably most people, don't really think about where my water comes from. When I turn the tap on, when I push a button, water's there, and I don't think about it. And when I was getting the tour of the office, I was understanding, like, what is groundwater? How is that an industry at all? And I learned more about how it's not just drinking water, but how agriculture is involved. And so it's not just water, it's the whole food supply chain also, and how important it is. And that hooked me. When I found out it's not just people who live in the country who get a well, it affects me in my day-to-day life. And I found out even my city has 3 wells, which is where we get our water. I just assumed it came from a reservoir, and that's not the case. So it really hooked me when I found out how important groundwater is to everyone in the entire world. It's obviously so important.
Yeah. And so if you're not thinking, I know why Charli picked her to be on the show, then you're a little strange. But no, I'm saying that because I'm passionate about water. I'm passionate about the pump industry, as a lot of us know. And I'm also, really excited to see how we can bring all that together, because I think groundwater, for my audience and kind of what we've regularly talked about, I don't think we've dug into it enough, is what I'm trying to say. And so I'm excited about that. I've been loved partnering with y'all in the past. We do have another episode from last year with Ben French that was really amazing too. And I think that we all kind of get hooked on this industry, and definitely when you see that you can affect change, that's what's really amazing. And like you said, in everybody's life. But I'm curious, like, before you got into the industry, you've been working there for a while. Has your perspective really changed? Like, what do you think has changed for you?
Absolutely. Probably the biggest thing that I've learned since I've been there, again, you think, well, there's just water and it gets replenished when there's rain and everything's fine. Just how surface water and groundwater interact, and especially with the droughts out west, learning how the surface water is depleting. So what's the role of groundwater in the future? And are there going to be, I've even heard talks of water wars in the future, and that sounds like a sci-fi film, but it
Right.
could potentially be a reality if we don't all, as a country and as people, work together to have the right stuff in place, the right rules in place, the right remediation in place for us to keep safe groundwater for everyone. Again, not just for drinking, but for our food also. So that's crazy to me. It's just, I've heard about droughts in the West. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, so we don't have droughts in the Midwest typically. But when you hear about them in the West, it's just kind of a story I hear on the news. And now, having met members, having met board members and interacting, I'm learning so much more why that's not just a news cycle and that drought goes away. This is an ongoing problem that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. And, I want to go back to something you said earlier about, not feeling like you're kind of part of the realness of the industry, if you will. As a media person, I've always kind of felt like that because I don't, manufacture the products. I don't, maintain them. I'm not, what can I really do? But it's the storytelling aspect, and you have that story. And so I think it's just part of the culture there, no matter what your job is, to understand how we can affect and the sustainability of groundwater in this particular case. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear, what y'all have coming up next. I know there's an event, but if you'll tell us a little bit more about NGWA and what it is, and then what the events are coming up.
Yeah, so I will tell you, we have a new president coming in. We get a new president of our board. So because we're an association, we're board run, and our new president is very much focused on the future. That is our current tagline, and we are absolutely focused on the future. And one of the things that our president-elect is really passionate about is helping people to not just work in their business, but work on their business, particularly contractors. I know they know what they're doing. They're experts in what they do. Our scientists and engineers, our hydrogeologists, they know how to calculate and find that groundwater. They're experts at that. What I think a lot of people struggle with is the business aspect. And I know that's what you and Bethany do a lot, with giving the marketing tips. So how can you help market your business? And one thing I've been able to do that I love doing, because I love talking even as a CPA, is I've been able to speak at a couple of events about finances. So about the business aspect of what they do. Again, they're experts on what they do out in the field, and I know how to create financial statements, but I'm helping them know how to interpret it. So we're really excited at NGWA moving forward. We're going to do some more online learning next year. We've been working on some different platforms for that. We're going to announce more at Groundwater Week, so I can't share too much. We've got some great partnerships coming up that we'll really be making a big splash about at Groundwater Week. But we know people are always needing to learn, not just about different drilling methods, but also about business. And so that's one of our big focuses for 2022.
Okay, I cannot wait to see this. This is something that I preach on with empowering women because finance is so important. It's important to grow in your career. It's important to grow your business and life. And so super happy to hear about that. And, that's why you kind of have to bring people outside of your industry sometimes to see how you can grow and improve. And I've got the chills. We like to say that on here when it really happens. And that is fabulous. So, okay. So I interrupted you, but kind of what's going on there?
No, you're great. So the other thing, and I know, again, as you mentioned, you talked to Ben last year, and Ben is our PR and advocacy guy, and he was telling me a bit about what's happening in that world. Again, that's his world, but we're going to continue to navigate the changing landscape in DC, and a lot of water is regional, as I know you guys talked about a year ago, which I'm sure every listener remembers every moment of that episode.
If not, we will go back and share that link again, just so you have the opportunity. We'll make it easy for you.
Absolutely. But we're going to track and lobby any new water and infrastructure spending that's coming up, and especially out west, we're going to be paying really close attention to what's happening there. So that's kind of what's coming up in the future. Do you want me to talk about Groundwater Week now?
I do. That would be awesome.
Okay. I can't wait. So we have Groundwater Week. It's the biggest industry event. It's coming up in Nashville this year, December 14th through the 16th, and we are having an in-person event. We are dedicated to having that safe in-person event in Nashville. We will be following all local guidelines that we need to follow, but basically at this point, unless Nashville says you cannot have this event, we are having this event. Last year was the first year ever, as far as we know, in the company that we had to have a virtual event because of restrictions that literally made it impossible for us to do it in person. And I've been at NGWA for about 2 years now, so I was so sad to not have that in-person event. I know that you have, well, by the time this airs, you will have had your event in Chicago, and you talk about how important it is to be together. And I have forgotten how much my bucket gets filled when I interact directly with people. So we are pumped for Groundwater Week in person in December. A couple things to note. Early registration ends November 12th, and you're going to get the best deal if you register by then. So really important, head to groundwaterweek.com to get that registration done. And then the other really weird thing, and this is just, I think, because of COVID, hotel rooms are filling up like crazy. So many travel plans, people are getting having issues just because of rental cars or hotel rooms. So head to our page. We have some room blocks available, but go ahead and get that hotel room. Even if you end up deciding not to come, get the hotel room, get it to be refundable, get that booked now, because I don't want that to be a reason someone can't attend this event. One other
I've
thing
noticed that too. Yeah, Becca, I just had to agree with you there. I've seen more people registering early so that they have their plans in place. So, if you're not doing that, it's a good point. Let's go ahead and do that and stay ahead of the game there.
Yes, I can tell you, my husband and I, we love to travel, and we have 2 kids, and we travel with them still. And we have had to reschedule, like everyone, at least 4 or 5 trips, but my husband has become an expert at getting all refundable things. So if guidelines change, we just get our money back and move it to the next trip. So I strongly suggest get that hotel room and then register early and join us in Nashville. One event.
This is a financial tip. I just want to clarify that for y'all. Like, she's giving you a financial tip right now. So take note of who she is and what she stands for. And I can see it through all this. So, okay, I'm tired of interrupting you. My bad. Go ahead.
You're good. That's part of my brand, is that I travel and we try to get good deals on things. So there you go. That's my personal brand. But yeah, so one other event that's happening that might be a little bit confusing is we also have an event called the Groundwater Summit. And that event is mainly focused on our scientists and engineer members, and not just members. Non-members can attend too, but that's mainly a lot heavier on the scientists, on the science side of it and the engineer side of it, whereas Groundwater Week is a lot heavier for our contractors and suppliers and manufacturers. Again, Groundwater Week, for people who have been before, which is the vast majority of people in the industry, our biggest pull there is our exhibit hall, where we have so many people already signed up for booths. It's going to be in person. We're going to have the latest technology there, the latest rigs. I was blown away my first time walking into the exhibit hall when I went. I'd heard about it, but you just can't get the scale of it until you walk in that room and see those rigs all the way up to the ceiling. And it's just, they're so shiny and new, and it's so exciting. So, yeah, that's a big one. The other one I didn't mention about Groundwater Week is we are going to have 2 days of education. So if you need the CEUs for certification, absolutely attend. You'll get those there. But even if you don't need the CEUs, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking a lot about important things that people need to know on how to run their business. So excited about that. But back to Groundwater Summit. Sorry, a little all over the place here. But that is going to be a fully virtual event the week in advance of Groundwater Week. So the reason we did that was we have found a lot of our scientists and engineers, especially those who are in academia, have a hard time being able to get away for a week in December. It's just bad timing for those members. So we have found that doing it online makes it easier for more people to attend, which is our goal. We want to educate the most people we can. The other piece is, to have staffing to run both of those events simultaneously was pretty difficult. We did it last year for the first time as 2 virtual events at the same time and learned some lessons that way. So that's why this year we're going to have it a week earlier online as a virtual event, and then Groundwater Week will happen in person in Nashville.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. And I'm with you. We had talked about having, separate events and different things like that. And you really do have to keep in mind your staff and who's going to do what. And that's really important. So, I think, going back to that culture and, creating change, creating and looking at what we need in the future, we have to do that. And especially working together, figuring out some of these things ahead of time. I know we talked about some of the regulations earlier that if you're not starting before it's a problem, then the solution that we need is not formed yet. So that's why we talk about these things, and even just an idea of water or being war, that water is currency and things like that. That is good to think about, because then you have a scenario and you can kind of think, okay, what will we do in this? And so I think that's really inspiring to hear that you are thinking about the future. Also, to get our, business owners to be more financially healthy so they can make better decisions, to innovate and to be able to do that. So I'm excited to hear, and I have said I am excited, I don't know how many times, so hopefully you are too. But going back to you and you getting into this industry and what you've learned, and where do you see it going, or where do you want it to go?
I think what I have seen is, and I'll clarify with this. I'm young. I'm a millennial. There are certain parts of me that I fit that stereotype hardcore. If my cell phone rings, I think, why is that happening? That's not what I use it for. Why is that person not texting me? So there are some things about me I am absolutely stereotypical. So for anyone who's not in my generation, listen and know that I realize how I sound, but I am very much, let's make a big difference. Let's make a big splash. Let's not just do things the way that we've always done them. What can we do to mix things up in the future? So I think that NGWA has been around for a really long time, and we've done a lot of things the same way, and that's who our members are. And I'm trying to think, I'm going to say it. I think that sometimes our industry can be male, pale, and stale is the way that I see it. And we're trying to change that. We're trying to mix it up. We don't want it to be stale. We want to be innovative in what we do and the way that we do it. And not just in the actual drilling, but in the way you run your business and the way you market your business, as I know you guys talk about every week. That's what I want the future to look like. Let's mix it up. Let's get younger people into the industry. And I think one of the big parts with getting younger people into the industry is you kind of have to spell it out for them. Like me, I'm like, groundwater. How I understand there's water in the ground, but how is that an industry? So I think if we could do a better job at explaining what the jobs are in the industry and what their future can look like, I think that's huge. You could give them a timeline of, if you work really hard, you could own your own business by a certain age, and here's the potential profits you could have that could help you with your family or whatever your dream is. I think that's huge, because if we don't tell them what it's going to be like, if we don't tell young people what the future could look like, they don't get it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think
and I think it's really important that you pointed out too about millennials, and I'm the first millennial age, and then so I feel like I can relate to both of these worlds, groups of people. But when I think about the people that I have trained or influenced or been around in that group, they do really want to know and need us to train them. Okay. And so there's a lot of studies on that, but if you're waiting on them just to know what to do or to know where to go next, like it's the wrong generation for that. So I do think education is key. I also want to say that, life cycle of water is important to tell people about. We don't really understand that. We don't even understand when they say they're making it rain over there. How does that even happen? Right. So definitely education on just that process of groundwater and where it goes through. And then the other side of that is education on, the processes of business and the processes of, how to communicate with other generations. So, and finance, all these things are really important. And so I love where this is going. I remember where I was going with that. the bringing in of a diverse network, a diverse community, a diverse workforce is so important. And then to have them be fully included in what we're trying to do so we can innovate and move this resource that we have that's limited into a better place for us, a sustainable place for us. I'm glad that they have you leading that way, and look forward to kind of seeing what you have next. So anyway, as we've been talking, is there anything that you're just like, I want to tell this audience from your, it's your time?
Yeah, one more thing I thought of while you were saying that is part of the education. We also have an entity called the Groundwater Foundation, which I didn't realize it wasn't on camera, but I'm repping it today. So this is our charitable foundation, where one of the things that we do and what our focus is there is educating students, kindergarten through 12th grade, also into college. We have a scholarship program there as well for people to get into the industry. It's not just to get into the industry, though. We're trying to educate the kids in school about the importance of safe and clean groundwater and contaminants. So we actually sell a really cool little package called the Awesome Aquifer Kit. It's really neat, and a lot of schools buy them, or individuals will buy them for their classrooms. It's a little kit, and it just gives you there's rocks and sand and water, and you dye the water a certain color so you can see how it flows. And then there's a pump, like a little hand sanitizer pump, where you pull it out, and then we put a filter on it, like a little pantyhose piece. It's a really cool product.
My daughter has to have this, by the way. Like, I am just sitting here like, she will love this. She loves mixtures and rocks. I mean, she brings a rock in probably every other day. So like, to bring all that together, that's exciting. And so we can get that from the foundation.
Absolutely. And I'll give you the link to put in the show notes for sure, where people can go and learn more about it. And again, we'll share more at Groundwater Week. So a lot of teasers here, but we have some really big plans for the Awesome Aquifer Kit in 2022 and how to really get it into schools. So spoiler alert, there's going to be a scholarship program for that too, a sponsorship opportunity. So people in the industry who want to help, and then you get your name on the kit. It's going to be really cool to get it into the schools, and we're hoping to reach more and more students with that each year. So we're really excited about that.
Well, I am just in awe. I knew this was going to be a great interview. I knew y'all were doing some awesome things, but I am just so in anticipation now of what's to come. So if anybody wants to reach out to you and just cannot wait to hear about some of these things, how best to get in touch with you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn for sure, Becca Calkins, Calkins. Also, my email is bcalkins@ngwa.org. Absolutely reach out to me. I'd love to talk with anyone. If there's an event where you want me to speak about finance and how to better run your business, I would love to do that. The other thing is follow my LinkedIn, because for Groundwater Week, I do some pretty fun videos, if I do say so myself. I did some funny TikTok type, Reels type things this past year, and I've already been saving ideas of what to do for this next year. So if you want to be entertained for 4 or 5 days in December, definitely give me a follow on LinkedIn.
We will absolutely do that. I'm looking forward to that. I feel like I'm going to learn all kinds of things now. And, just thank you for your time today. It's such a pleasure to get to spend a few moments with you. And, that face-to-face, this is as close as we can get sometimes. It matters. So thanks for being here and turning your camera on with me today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Charli.
And we're back. Thank you, Charli, for finding Becca. Thank you, Becca Calkins, for coming on the show and talking to us all about NGWA and your event. Everyone, let us know what you think in the comments, whether on social media or YouTube, what you learned and what you liked and what you're looking forward to with the National Groundwater Week event.
And that brings us to the end of the show. So, thank you so much for listening. And, as always, reach out to us through social at Empowering Pumps and using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. Or you can always email us at podcast@empoweringpumps.com.
Yep. One more plug for our 100th episode coming out in a couple of weeks on November 22nd. Still time to get your mention in on that. And more importantly, we just hope to have you all back with us for the next couple of episodes so you can celebrate with us. Do us a favor, subscribe, rate and review the podcast, all of those fun things. And we'll be back on Monday with a new episode.
So until then, be empowering.
Woodrow's back, everybody. Check out the YouTube so you can see the puppy.